Right now, if you run a YouTube channel, something is happening that could change how many people ever see your video, and it has nothing to do with your content, your niche, or your upload schedule. The UK government has opened a formal consultation to force YouTube and other platforms to boost specific broadcasters above everyone else in the recommendation system, regardless of what viewers actually want to watch. And YouTube has responded by sending direct alerts to creators, warning that this could permanently cap how far independent channels can grow. Let me tell you exactly what's happening, why it matters, even if you don't live in the UK, and why creators and journalists are lining up on opposite sides. The proposal is called Watch This Space, a new strategic direction for UK media. It comes from pressure applied by the BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5, public broadcasters who argue that despite producing regulated, trusted journalism, they're consistently buried by algorithms that favour creator content and entertainment. Their case is straightforward. The public increasingly gets news from YouTube and TikTok, not television, and if trustworthy journalism doesn't get algorithmic visibility, it effectively doesn't exist to most viewers, especially during major national events. So the government is now weighing rules that would require platforms to boost those broadcasters' visibility, what's being called a prominence regime. On television, this kind of rule is simple. A channel number is a fixed slot, so regulators can just say the BBC sits at Channel 1. But YouTube's feed isn't a fixed list. It's a live ranking system that scores every video for every individual user based on what that person actually watched. Forcing prominence into that system means overriding the ranking itself, inserting certain channels above where your engagement data says they should sit. That's the part YouTube is objecting to. The company sent a direct message to creators with the headline, "Proposed UK rules could control your feed." It explained that the platform currently works on the principle that every creator gets a fair shot at being seen, and warned that under the new proposal, some channels would be placed above others regardless of what the audience wants to watch. YouTube's own language was blunt. This could severely limit a channel's ability to grow. Now here's where you need to actually understand both arguments, because online reaction has mostly ignored one side of this entirely. The government's argument is this: misinformation spreads fastest exactly where trusted journalism has the least visibility. If people are getting breaking news from random creators, instead of licensed, regulated broadcasters during a crisis, riot, election, or emergency, and that's a real public safety, not a hypothetical one. Public broadcasters are held to legal accuracy and impartiality standards that most independent channels simply aren't. From that view, this isn't about silencing creators. It's about making sure verified information doesn't get outcompeted by whatever gets the most clicks in a given moment. The counter-argument, which is what most creators and YouTube itself are pushing, is this: the moment a government can legally order a platform to rank specific outlets above others, you've broken the one thing that made platforms like YouTube different from television in the first place. The idea that what rises to the top is determined by what audiences actually choose to watch, not by who has a broadcast license. Once that precedent exists, the argument goes, there's no natural limit to how far prominence rules could expand later, to other categories, other justifications, Public reaction has been loud and overwhelmingly critical. One widely shared comment called the move part of a slow, constant reduction of people's ability to think and choose for themselves. Tech commentators have also pointed out a real irony. YouTube itself has spent years quietly adjusting its own recommendation system to favour major media brands during breaking news. So its sudden, defense of fair and open discovery isn't entirely selfless. The company has its own commercial interest in keeping ranking decisions in its own hands, not the government. Here's what actually happens next. This is a consultation, not a finalised law. The government has not made a final decision. Creators and the public have until August 31st to submit responses through the official UK government web, and that consultation process is what will shape whatever policy comes out the other side. So here's what I want you to actually walk away with, not a vague warning. If you create content in the UK or for a UK audience, this consultation is the actual mechanism you can respond to before any rule is final, not a comment section, an official government response form. If you're outside the UK, this still matters because platform policy decisions rarely stay contained to one country. A precedent set in Britain about who gets to override a recommendation algorithm is exactly the kind of decision other governments watch closely before proposing their own version. Now here's the actual debate, and I think it splits people in a real way, not a fake one. Some of you are going to say the government is right, that during genuine emergencies and elections, algorithm-driven virality has already proven it can spread false information faster than any broadcaster can correct it, and some form of intervention is overdue. Others are going to say this is exactly how state control over information starts, quietly, framed as public safety, one algorithm at a time, and that once it exists for trusted broadcasters, it never stays limited to just that. So tell me directly, do you think a government should ever be allowed to force a platform's algorithm to favor specific outlets, even with good intentions behind it? Or is the risk of where that precedent leads worse than the problem it's trying to solve? I'll be reading every comment.